I want to, Lydia, pull up this graphic.
Yeah.
This is an image that we've seen before on the show, and we debated whether or not it was true and correct, but it's the 10 stages of genocide. Now, the first thing is that this graphic we have is an oversimplification of the actual 10 stages of genocide that was initially written. I think it was written by a historian or academic, talking about what we see through various authoritarian dictatorships. But let me just read some for you. They said the first stage is classification. People are divided into us and them. Stage 2 is symbolization. People are forced to identify themselves. 3, discrimination. People begin to face systematic discrimination. 4 is dehumanization. People equated with animals, vermin, or diseases. 5 is organization. The government creates specific groups, police and military, to enforce the policies. 6 is polarization. The government broadcasts propaganda to turn the populace against the group. 7 is preparation. Official action to remove and relocate people. 8 is persecution, the beginning of murders, theft of property, trial massacres. 9 is extermination, wholesale elimination of the group. And 10 is denial. The government denies that it committed any crime. Now, I don't think that this is a linear path. You know, I think it's just several things you see in genocide or dictatorship. So I'll just very quickly say, well, the last time we talked about this, we got to number 2, people are forced to identify themselves. And it's like, where are people being forced to identify themselves?
Yeah.
Now in Australia,
political gender, pronouns.
On COVID,
No, you're not being forced. You're not being forced.
On COVID, I think we're on step 7.
Right.
Now the COVID passports is kind of like
right.
identify yourself. Are you?
So let's
Are
talk.
you the virus?
So the conversation we're having before was about January 6th they put out this list of a bunch of people, including Trump activists. But when you think about it in terms of the vaccine, this list is scary. I mean, for one, us and them. Oh yeah, they keep going on TV saying that all of this is the fault of the people who aren't vaccinated. People are forced to identify themselves. Yes, they're mandating that you reveal your identification at buildings. People are facing systematic discrimination. Yeah, you can't go into buildings. People are equated with animals, vermin, or diseases. Horse medicine. They're talking about people who are taking ivermectin, not FDA approved for use in COVID, mind you, but they're equating it with animal. The government creates specific groups, police and military, to enforce the policies. Are we there yet? Is that happening? Is there a specific group that's been created for this?
Well, the Capitol Police has been expanded.
But that's more MAGA
true,
stuff.
yeah.
That's not vaccine-related stuff. They say the government broadcasts propaganda. Well, I mean, Fauci won't shut up. And then official action to remove and relocate people. I'll tell you this. I don't think we're there yet in terms of the vaccine, but you have various aspects of this across the board.
We got to be careful we don't play into this either, because the first one, us and them, I've noticed when I have conversations here and in general, I talk about them like they are the Biden crew or whatever, the deep state, whatever I'm feeding this. And if I keep talking, lazily acting like that, they're going to keep acting like, see, I just did it again. There is no they. It's us. We are humans on Earth together.
Yeah, Ian, that's utopian thinking.
Well, but if we don't go that direction, we're going to start dividing people. So
that's like saying
It's very easy to lead someone who's thinking in those terms. And you hear this. By the way, what you just said is, if you tune into MSNBC or CNN right now and you listen to how they talk about these medical mandates, they always use terms of we and us. We need to do this. We need to do that. Right? It's always we. It's always us.
We need to make things harder for them. They've said that on TV.
Well, who is we?
And look at the way they talk about we.
Who are you?
What was the adjective we kept using in Alaska when they talked about the crowd who was at Obama's birthday party? How they described
sophisticated.
themselves. We are sophisticated.
We're sophisticated.
We're a sophisticated, vaccinated class, right? That's why there was no concern about that party. It was a sophisticated. We are the enlightened ones. We're the smart ones. We are, Bill Maher made this 5, 6, maybe it was about a year and a half ago on one of his monologues where he talked about middle America, right? We have Wolfgang Puck. They have Chef Boyardee.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
We have this. They have that. They're envious of us. So I appreciate what you're saying from the humanitarian perspective. I wish we were a we, but I fear that if I don't have a they versus us, they're going to kill me. Like, they talk about me, what they're doing to you with this January 6th commission right now. They have complete desire to eradicate me from the political space, from the discourse space, from what I do for a living. And so if I don't put up boundaries, they're coming after
And remember,
me.
what we've also seen that's going on, and this is something that I'm going to get into if they want to pursue this with me, is they will set up operations, and we've seen this in the past. We've seen this even just last year, where the federal government and the FBI will use a system of informants and plants that will go into various groups, these sort of like edge case groups, Discord chats, Facebook groups, and then they will become accelerants. So they will accelerate what's going on. They will become accelerationists for that specific unit, that specific group of people, whether it's a militia or something. And we are going to get onto all of that, Nancy Pelosi. I want to find Nancy Pelosi's personal communications that were members of these militias. I want to go after all the communications that her and her staff have had with Stuart Rhodes and the Oath Keepers.
I want to make a point to wrap up what Ian said. There's only one thing you need to understand to understand, so you know that this is just not correct. Go tell the Taliban what you just said. Go walk up to them outside of the airport in Kabul and say, we're all in this together. There's no us and them, and see how they treat you.
Well, sometimes it works.
No,
I've been in situations where I don't even speak the language, but as long as you vibe with them, you are one of them.
You're going to vibe with the Taliban?
I don't know. You could.
They're walking around with guns. They're beating people in the streets.
That's kind of a fantasy because I don't know them. I've never seen a person that identifies as Taliban. All I've seen is propaganda.
I've met Taliban.
I think
members.
going to what you're saying,
their vibe is, how much of the Quran do you have memorized? Their vibe is, do you perform zakat? Are you praying 5 times a day?
And you're an American. It doesn't matter.
I like the Quran though. It's interesting.
Have you submitted to Islam? Right. Right. Yes and no, but it doesn't matter. And if you're an American right now, then you're immediate there
are situations.
Practice some Russian if you're over there.
There are situations.
Why did they beat that Australian guy? There was an Australian guy just walking to the airport, and they just started beating him. Why would they do that?
I don't know. But
it's just us, right?
I see partly what you're saying because there are situations where it can become so volatile that if you insert yourself, you'll be destroyed in a moment. But
what do you think is happening when they put together a list of people?
This is part of that, creating that volatility. If we can also create that volatility if we want. So it's like, you can acknowledge that it's there without propelling it.
Ignoring the problem won't make it stop.
No, I'm not saying to ignore it. I'm just saying don't feed it.
I'll put it this way: as a Catholic, I believe that that there is a heaven, and in that wonderful the new Eden, the new kingdom, that it will be us, and we will all be one, and we will all be together. Mm-hmm. But in this current moment, in this part of the movie that we're in right now, in what we're living through, what I am personally living through, when I look at my kids. When I put them to bed and think, is this the last time I'm going to see them because somebody's going to come knock on my door and take me away?
With CNN getting tipped off?
With CNN getting tipped off because of my opinions, right? I don't really have that luxury right now. But I do have my rosary, and I say that every day, but that's all I got.
You raised an interesting point, and I think this is where our system is rigged, and it is very messed up, in that you said, I'd love to see Nancy Pelosi's correspondence, but Congress is exempt. Right? Congress doesn't have to share their records. No one has the authority to ask for Nancy Pelosi's records. Now, she has the authority to ask for the president's records. I find that a huge flaw with our problem. Right? FOIA does not exist in the judicial, in the legislative branch. You can't ask your senator, your congressman.
I'll get them.
Well, if someone leaks them,
I'll get them.
But my point is that you don't have she has tools.
She doesn't know how far my network goes. I'm going to get.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that legally she has tools. I see what you're saying. You don't.
Right.
We don't. And not everyone is Jack Posobiec.
But Daniel, these are better men.
That's not.
Well, they're so sophisticated. Though,
they are sophisticated.
They're so sophisticated. And they're so much better.
And
than
that
us
is a huge problem
way.
with the way things are structured right now. And so you can subpoena. You can impeach the president twice, but what authority does the president have to say, I would like to know how Nancy Pelosi is coordinating with X, Y, or Z to come after me and my administration?
I want to see your communications on the belt-fed, the crew-served machine.
Oh, and another one, by the way, Chuck Schumer. Did you see what happened to your boy Andrew? Your boy Andrew Cuomo?
He's not really my boy. He's actually saying that because I'm from New York.
Chuck, you saw that, right?
By the way.
Right? Yeah. I know some things, Andrew. Or I know some things, Chuck. Don't go there. Don't go there.
They're going there.
Okay, Chuck.
You know what's funny is when you look over in Australia, we got they're building camps. You know what I saw? What's really funny? Check this out.
You see, they have the QR codes as well on the doors.
Yeah. They're putting signs on people's doors.
You see this?
Suspected of having COVID. Now here's the best part.
So you have to swipe in. It's grocery stores. It's where when you go to work. If you're going, I don't know if churches are open. And now I think this is mainly the New South Wales. It's that one area where it's worse.
It's like Minority Report, man. You know what I saw today? I looked at this article from 9 News Australia they have an interactive map of all of the areas of New South Wales that are under lockdown. Surprise, surprise, it's all of them. And stay-at-home orders. You're only allowed to leave for very specific things. But Chris Hemsworth went out surfing. You know why? Because if you're rich, you're exempt.
Sophisticated.
Absolutely. And there's been people complaining about it, saying, how come the rich people are at the beach? And they said, shut your mouth, peasant.
Do you think anyone's going to arrest Chris Hemsworth? He's a national icon. He's a treasure. He's exempted, just like our politicians are exempt from all of our COVID rules.
I want to make sure this is clear. I think Chris Hemsworth's rad. I don't blame him for this.
Good actor.
The government
Everyone
is implementing. I'll put it this way. I don't think it's the fault of Chris Hemsworth that he's successful and able to go to the beach.
Nope.
I think what that really means is the government is purposefully punishing the poor. They are purposefully beating down poor people.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Did you see the churches that they were going after?
No.
You know, I saw this video, and it's amazing because I looked up the anchor's name because the guy had tweeted it out. It was some like a local news thing in Australia, and the guy's name was actually Peter Overton. Right? So his name is actually Overton.
Wow.
Simulation.
Right? Simulation, right? And then they go and they interview somebody, and he said, and it's this like, you know, pasty white guy with a mask going, well, I just had to call the police on this church, and what they were doing was just so wrong, and it was terrible. He's like the vocal fry, you know, and you look at the church, and these are like the majority of them appear to be immigrants to Australia, and they. Very not well off. I mean, this is like folding chairs and like not well off church, but it was a place where people were going because they were looking for some semblance of connection to the eternal and to the infinite, something positive, a sense of community where they could get over. And because and you should hear the way, I don't know if you have the clip of it, but the way they're talking about this church, they called them arrogant and they called them greedy and self-interested. And I'm like, these are Christians you're referring to this way, people who are not affluent, people who aren't on fancy news networks like Peter Overton.
You raised a great point of how, you know, it is punishing the poor. And when Obama had his birthday party a couple of weeks ago and people were saying, you know, hypocrisy, etc., I took a very different approach. And another thing that happened at the birthday party, John Kerry showed up in his private jet, right? And people said, shame on John Kerry, hypocrisy. And I said, if I had John Kerry's wealth and married a rich widow, that's the old-fashioned way you make your money, right? I would fly a private jet. And if I had Obama's wealth and prestige, I would have a party with 600 of my closest friends. The point is not that they did it. Everyone should have that right. The point is that the people telling us to go green and to lock down are never going to do it. Right. They are never going to follow the laws that they want the powerless, the voiceless, the nameless, and faceless to have.
Well, keep in mind,
that is the problem.
What they're
it's
doing
not
now,
the hypocrisy. It's that you don't have the power to thwart the laws that the rest of us are imposing on you.
What the Green Movement has wanted for a generation, the same people are now getting through the threat of COVID.
Right? COVID envy is a real thing.
Right. So they wish that they could get right, you know, so now it's all the people who were, you know, like sort of like the grifter class, the ones that are just pushing this stuff. They, you know, they used to be climatologists, now they're all epidemiologists. You know, they went to bed one night and woke up, and now they're getting the restrictions, they are getting the mandates, they're getting everything they wanted to take away people's liberties and people's freedoms through the threat of, it's, you know, it's almost cliche to say it at this point, but the Rahm Emanuel's famous quote, never let a crisis go to waste.
Yeah, and COVID is for your good, for the good of society. Therefore, you have to follow these prescriptions. And the environmentalists have wanted that forever. The COVID shut down people's ability to go to church, right? The Australia laws, which are that list that you mentioned, which came out today, was you read that and it reads like
Nazis.
Nazis.
They're Nazis, man.
It reads.
And people of Australia, I mean, they're protesting.
They are.
But you have
and it's going to get
literal.
bloody.
When I say literal, I'm saying
$1,000 fines if they catch you outside after curfew.
And at what point do the police, the Australian police, who I hope are listening to this podcast, on horseback say, I am not going to hit this person with my... But you see the video
well,
of
did
them
you see
hitting the people.
The truckers videos?
At what point did the Australian police say, I am not obeying this order?
I saw, you know, and it was, I saw a couple of videos where it was truckers saying, you know, we run this country, and people realize. So you look on the map, Australia is pretty big, but it's, if you look at the actual, you know, I always do map breaks on Twitter. If you look at the actual populated areas, it's only around the coast, right? It's very sparsely populated, and so those truckers are absolutely necessary as much as they are everywhere else, but really in Australia, when they're shipping those goods, when they're shipping that food, and you're starting now to hear these truckers, and they're saying, we will shut this country down over this if you keep pushing us over this
But
stuff.
will enough
We
of
will
them?
stop.
Will
That's
enough
the
of
question, isn't it?
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.